age when gods walked among mortals, a child was born whose destiny was to become the greatest hero of Greece. This child was Heracles, son of the god Zeus, and the mortal woman, Alcmene. But from the very moment of his birth, the goddess Hera, Zeus's wife, was consumed with fury. The child was proof of her husband's betrayal, and she swore to fill his life with suffering. One night, Hera sent two enormous serpents slithering into the infant's crib, but the young Heracles, barely a few months old, grasped the snakes with his tiny hands and strangled them before anyone could reach him. Everyone understood immediately. This was no ordinary child. Heracles grew strong, learning combat, archery, music, and horsemanship. His strength was unmatched. Villagers feared it. Kings envied it. Yet he remained kind-hearted, always eager to help, though Hera never ceased haunting him with curses and misfortunes. Then came the day that changed his life forever. Hera unleashed a sudden madness upon Heracles. He lost all awareness of reality. In a moment of lethal delusion, he saw enemies where his family stood. He attacked his wife Megara and their 3 children and killed them, believing he was defending himself from foes. When the madness faded and he saw what he had done, Heracles collapsed in anguish. The guilt crushed him, and he felt unworthy of life, honor, or forgiveness. Seeking purification, he traveled to the Temple of Delphi. The oracle told him that only one path could cleanse his soul. He had to serve King Eurystheus, a weak man manipulated by Hera, and complete a series of impossible challenges. Thus began the legendary 12 labors of Heracles. His first labor was to kill the Nemean Lion, a monstrous creature whose hide was harder than iron. When Heracles reached the lion's territory, he found a village living in terror. He entered the beast's forest and shot an arrow, which just bounced off uselessly. He realized the fight had to be fought hand to hand. He chased the lion into a cave with 2 entrances, then rolled a massive boulder to block one exit, trapping the beast. Inside the dark cave, after a brutal struggle, he seized the lion by its throat and crushed it with his bare hands. He then used the lion's own claws to skin it, wearing its impenetrable pelt as armor. Next, Heracles faced the Lernaean Hydra. In the poisonous swamps of Lerna lived this serpent with 9 heads, one of them immortal. Whenever he cut off one head, 2 grew back in its place. Covering his mouth to avoid the deadly fumes, he attacked. Heads struck at him like lightning. A divine insight from the goddess Athena came to him. Burn the wounds immediately. He called his cousin Iolaus, who brought a blazing torch. Each time Heracles cut off a head, Iolaus burned the stump, stopping its regeneration. At last, the creature died, and Heracles buried its immortal head beneath a great rock. His third labor was to capture the Cyrenian hind. This golden hind belonged to the goddess Artemis, and capturing it was an offense that could bring divine wrath. It was so fast, its hooves were said never to touch the ground. Heracles pursued it for an entire year across forests, mountains, and rivers. Finally, at a quiet spring, he shot it gently in the leg, a clean wound that would not kill it. He approached reverently, almost apologizing to Artemis for the disturbance, and carried it back to the king. Fourth was the Erymanthian boar. The boar was enormous. Its roars echoed 4 miles. When it charged, the earth trembled. Heracles chased it through a violent snowstorm. As the beast climbed a mountain, its hooves slipped in the deep snow. Heracles leaped upon it from above, wrestled it into submission, chained it, and delivered it to King Eurystheus, hid in terror upon seeing it. The 5th labor was a humiliating yet brilliant task: cleaning the Augean stables. These stables housed thousands of cattle and hadn't been cleaned in 30 years. The filth had formed mountains of hardened muck. Instead of cleaning it by hand, Heracles examined the landscape. He diverted to nearby rivers, the Alpheus and Peneus, using his strength to move colossal stones. The waters surged through the stables, washing them clean in hours. When the king tried to cheat Heracles of his reward, Heracles took him to trial and won. For his 6th labor, Heracles had to deal with the Stymphalian Birds. These man-eaten birds lived in a swampy forest where no man dared enter. Their feathers could be launched like razor-sharp darts. The god Hephaestus sent Heracles a bronze noisemaker. When he struck it, a thunderous clatter filled the forest, sending the birds fleeing into the sky. Heracles then shot many of them down with his arrows, and the rest escaped far, far away, never to return. The seventh Labour was capturing the Cretan bull. This once beautiful bull had been warped by Poseidon's wrath into a creature that snorted smoke and flames. It ravaged the fields of Crete. Heracles met it in an open plain, dodging its fiery charges. He leapt over its back like the ancient Minoan acrobats, seized its horns, and wrestled it to the ground. He bound it and carried it off to Eurystheus. Next, Heracles had to capture the mares of Diomedes. These monstrous horses were fed the flesh of captives by King Diomedes, their cruel master. When his men killed some of Heracles' companions, Heracles stormed in, furious. He captured Diomedes, threw him to his own horses, and they devoured him instantly. Freed from their master's cruelty, the mares calmed. Heracles brought them back alive. The ninth Labour sent him after the belt of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazon. Queen Hippolyta was strong, noble, and respected by her warrior nation. She admired Heracles' bravery and peacefully agreed to give him her belt. But Hera, disguised as an Amazon, spread lies that Heracles intended to abduct the queen. Battle erupted. Forced to defend himself, Heracles fought the Amazons. In the chaos, Hippolyta was tragically killed, and Heracles took the belt, his heart heavy with the unintended conflict. His 10th Labour was to retrieve the cattle of Geryon, a journey to the ends of the earth. Geryon was a giant with 3 bodies, 3 hearts, and 3 minds. His cattle were guarded by a 2-headed dog named Orthros. Heracles traveled to the far west, to the very realm of sunset. He killed Orthros with a single blow, then faced Geryon, who attacked from 3 sides at once. A single poisoned arrow, dipped in the Hydra's venom, struck the giant, killing him. Heracles then began the long, arduous task of herding the cattle all the way back to Greece. The 11th Labour was to fetch the apples of the Hesperides. These golden apples grew in a hidden garden, guarded by beautiful nymphs and a sleepless dragon named Ladon. After a long journey, Heracles found the Titan Atlas, who was doomed to hold up the sky. "Take the sky for a moment," Atlas said, "and I'll fetch the apples for you." Heracles agreed and bore the crushing weight of the heavens. Atlas returned with the apples but tried to leave Heracles in his place. Heracles, thinking quickly, tricked him. "Hold the sky for just a moment, while I adjust my cloak." Atlas foolishly took back the sky and Heracles walked away with the apples. His final, 12th Labour was to capture Cerberus, the guardian of the underworld. Cerberus, the 3-headed hound of Hades, guarded the realm of the dead. Heracles descended into the underworld and sought permission from Hades himself. Hades allowed it on one condition: you must face him without weapons. In the shadowy cave of souls, Cerberus lunged at him. Heracles seized its chains, endured the bites of all 3 heads, and forced the beast into submission. He dragged it to Eurystheus, who was so horrified he begged him to return it immediately. After completing the 12 Labours, Heracles was finally freed from Hera's curse, but destiny still had one last tragedy for him. After his second marriage to his wife Deianira, who had been deceived by a dying centaur, she gave Hercules a poisoned robe, believing it would restore his love. When Awari, the poison burned into his flesh, causing unbearable agony. Heracles built a funeral pyre on Mount Ota, laid upon it, and prepared for his final rest. But Zeus would not let his son die a mortal death. As the flames rose, Zeus carried Heracles to Mount Olympus, granting him immortality as a god of strength, courage, and endurance. And so, the legend of Heracles endured, a symbol of a hero broken by guilt, strengthened by hardship, and ultimately transformed by destiny. His story reminds us that even the strongest among us face darkness, but it is through overcoming our trials that we find our true power.